guys, it's me, Brittany, or Bree, whichever one you want to call me, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you my packing list and how I make it. That way when you're going on your next trip, maybe it'll help you. Alrighty, so I'll pop my packing list up on the screen, that way you can kind of follow along and see what it looks like while I go over it. So obviously the first thing on your packing list is going to be your clothes, and I like to personally split it up between bottoms, tops, PJs, undergarments, swim, anything like that. I like to split up individually, that way you really know how many of each thing you will need. I personally like to go into detail of right down to how many pairs of socks I want to bring, just so I know I am not going to forget anything, because just writing bottoms or tops or t-shirts, whatever, it's not enough, because I will probably forget something or bring more than I actually need. So writing down specific numbers help me not bring too little or too much. I personally like to bring extra stuff, and what I mean by that is, like, if I'm going for 4 days, so I need 4 outfits, I bring maybe 5 or 6. Next thing I do is like shoes and bags. For shoes, for Disney for example, which is what this packing list is for, is I usually bring 2 pairs of sneakers. That way if I'm in the park and one gets completely drenched from rain or something, the next day I have a backup pair. That way I don't have to maybe possibly wear like wet shoes, because that's not fun for anybody. Bags is another thing I break down probably more than I need to, but it just helps me stay organized. And I break it down not only what purses I'm going to bring, but also what backpacks I'm going to bring into the park and what suitcases I'm going to be using. Obviously if you're not going to Disney, you probably won't need a like backpack or anything like that, but I do like to break down exactly what suitcases I'm bringing too. If you obviously only have one, then it's going to be obvious what suitcases you're bringing, but I have multiple, so I like to write down exactly which ones. That way I know to kind of put them to the side so I don't use them before the trip, but also just so I know how much room I'm going to have in my bag to, you know, pack all my stuff in. Another category I have is the remember or like important, don't forget, whatever you want to call it category, and that includes like your ID, especially if you are like 21 and over. That way you can, you know, buy drinks or something if you want it. Or also if you're going on a plane, an ID is literally like #1 thing you have to have it to travel. If you need your passport, you would write that down. If you have your like tickets ahead of time for your plane or whatever, then definitely write that down. But also including cards that you want to bring, cash if you want to bring that, and stuff like that, like stuff that's really big. I also highly recommend bringing your insurance card. I bring mine when I go on vacation, so does my mom, and like really my whole family, just in case of an emergency you have your insurance card on you. Hopefully you won't ever have to use it, but it's kind of just like a better safe than sorry thing. Next, I break down accessories, including any like scarves, hats, gloves if you're going somewhere cold, or any jewelry if you're a jewelry wearer, belts, anything like that that is some sort of accessory I like to write down. I obviously don't want to bring all of my jewelry with me when I'm going on vacation, so I just bring a few pieces that I know will work for multiple outfits, so I definitely recommend doing that. The next thing I break down is extra or like random items that really don't fit into a category. So for me that's things like water bottles, my Mickey ears, like a YouTube notebook so I know exactly what I want to film while I'm there, and just like kind of random stuff that doesn't really fit into a category, but those are just some of mine. Obviously you can see the whole list right here since it is on screen, and again this is for my Disney trip next month, so if you are going to Disney it'll probably look pretty similar to mine, and if you're not, then you know, some things you might not need, and you might need some extras that I don't have on here. This next thing I break down is only going to be for those of you who wear makeup, and that is the makeup I bring and like the makeup brushes. I do put them in separate categories just so I can like break it down a little more, but obviously you can do it together. For makeup, I go again right down into exactly what eyeliner I want to bring, because I do have multiple, what eyeshadow I want to bring, because again I do have multiple. For me, the easiest way to break down your makeup and makeup brushes so you don't forget anything is while you're packing and you're doing your makeup or whatever, like do a step and then put it in your makeup bag that you're bringing. Or if you're making the list ahead of time like I do, so you obviously don't want to pack this stuff up yet, I recommend just like being like, okay, like going over your routine in your head and jotting down what you want to bring and everything. The next thing, which is obviously a big one, is toiletries. Obviously everybody will use these. That's like your deodorant, perfume, cologne, Q-tips, toothbrush, toothpaste, all that kind of stuff. There's a ton more, but as you can see I have it all written out here, so if you want to check mine, that way you know you're not forgetting anything, feel free. These are obviously very, very important, and again I highly recommend breaking it down as much as you can, especially for toiletries, just because those are pretty important. The next category I have is skin, and that includes sunblock and aloe for even people who, you know, don't moisturize or anything like that. For me, obviously that does include moisturizer and primer and everything, but for those of you who don't, if you need sunblock, definitely make sure you have that written down. And if also bring aloe, even if you're like, oh well, we're bringing sunblock so we definitely won't get a sunburn, bring aloe just in case, because if you're gone for a week and somehow get sunburnt on the second day, you don't want to not be able to put aloe on it that whole time you're there. So definitely make sure you include those type of things. The next category is hair, so obviously that will include your hair brush, and then if you want to put your hair up, then that will obviously include hair ties or scrunchies, bobby pins, hair clips, or if you have any heating tools like a hair dryer, curling iron, straightener, you're definitely going to want to make sure you bring those. Most hotels do have a hair dryer, but if you want a straightener or a curling iron or even like a diffuser for your hair dryer, make sure you bring those. Next thing I wrote down is something I suggest everybody brings no matter where you're going, and that is medicine. The worst feeling ever is when you're on vacation, you don't feel good, or something in your party doesn't feel good. So just prepare ahead of time. It's better to be prepared, better to be safe than sorry. So for me, I have a lot of stomach issues, so I make sure I have literally every stomach medicine that I take when I go on vacation, whether that be Pepto, Tums, Imodium, stuff like that, but then also ibuprofen, Advil, and if you could bring like a little first aid kit that includes band-aids or something like that, that is also helpful. And then obviously if you take any medication, make sure you bring that as well. The next thing on my list is electronics. Obviously most of us do use smartphones nowadays, or at least have a cell phone of some kind. So make sure you bring the charger for that. But then if you want to bring a camera, like I know I'm going to bring the one I'm using right now to film this video, I'm bringing that plus the charger for the battery, extra memory cards. If you want a tripod or something, a ring light, anything like that, make sure you have that written down. I also know I'm going to be bringing headphones, that way when I'm on the plane at the airport I can do that. My last two categories you might not need, again depending on where you're going. If you are going to Disney though, I recommend you bringing these as well. The first one is food. A trick I learned from my aunt and uncle is to bring some snacks with you to the hotel, that way you can have breakfast right in your room and not have to pay for it anywhere else. That way you can just eat quick while everyone's getting ready, and then you can go right to the park without wasting extra time going to the quick service or lobby, or, you know, paying some extra money that you really don't need to. It's kind of a money saver, honestly. This last thing, you really won't need it unless you're going to Disney, and that's stuff for signing. And this will also vary on what signing stuff you want. A lot of people do the autograph notebooks, which I can put a picture here on the screen A lot of people do those because they sell them right at the park and everything, and they're really cute. I know that we did that in 2005, which was my very first trip to Disney. I know that's what we did. I don't love the autographed books personally because they kind of just sit on a shelf and you don't really ever look at it. And I just like stuff that's more on display. That way you can really like just display it and remember your trip better. I know for this trip, me and my mom got these like cute little wooden letters. I can also put a little picture or video of those on here as well, with some nice little fine tip like different colored markers. That way a lot of characters can sign it and you know the marker isn't too thick where like they kind of run out of room, because even though they are able to make really big signatures if you want or really tiny ones, if you have a marker that's obviously like a fatter tip, then like, you know, they might not be able to fit as many autographs on there. So I definitely recommend that. I've done the letters before and I really like it because then when you get home you just put some Mod Podge on it and it just stays there forever and you can display it. Another one I've done, which was on my 2017 trip, is when I've done it. Again, it is in storage or I'd show it to you, but it is the like white frames. A lot of people use them for like weddings or graduations where you put like the picture in the middle and then there's all that white space for people to sign and write a message or whatever. I carried around just the like white frame, didn't even have the picture in it or anything yet because then I put a picture from that trip in it afterwards. But you can get the frames for pretty cheap and then again put your picture in it and frame it and it is on display. That is another one that I really like doing, and that one is pretty cheap to do, as well as the letters are. You could also do t-shirts. I've seen people do that as well. Sometimes it's harder for them to sign because it's not like a hard surface, but they can usually make it work. But definitely look up some signatures ideas. There's a ton out there, and if you want something different than just like the autograph books, again, just look it up. There are a ton of ideas out there, but I definitely recommend doing like the letters or the autographed like frame are really easy. But if you don't and you want the signature like little autograph book, then those are at the park too, and they're also really fun to do. So that is what is on my packing list. I again will be doing a more vlog style video of me actually packing when it gets closer to time. So that should be here in like a couple weeks or so, because I do like to pack a little bit ahead of time. So definitely keep a lookout for that video. I think I'll be posting it probably the Friday, like literally the day before I leave, because I leave on a Saturday. So I'll probably post it that day before, because I am going to try to post every Friday. So keep a lookout for that. It's only a couple weeks away. Alrighty, so now in this part of the video, instead of doing more of like what's actually on my packing list, I kind of want to show you or like give you advice on like different ways you could make your packing list. For me, I really like to do the table like I did in mine. Again, I'll pop it up here quick so you can see what I mean. And I like to color code it as well, that way everything stands out more. But another way you can do it is also just handwrite it, or again type it, but just without the chart. I have done the handwritten before, and again I definitely recommend color coding it, because when you do it all in one color, it just like, I seem to always skip over something even if I'm like crossing it out as I go. I don't know why, but color coding just makes stuff stand out more and it's just easier in my opinion. Another thing that's really important is just again breaking everything down. My mom personally just likes to do clothes, toiletries, other, but to me that's not broken down enough. If that's enough for you, fantastic. But if not, and you're like me and you like to go right with bottoms, tops, everything like that, then I definitely recommend breaking it down more like that. A chart I think is easier when you're going to break it down specifically, but if you're going to just do like clothes, toiletries, whatever, then even just like a little list would really be fine. A reason I really like to hand type it is because for one, I could print it out if I wanted to, but I also don't need to. I could keep it right on my computer or my phone. But also that way I can go back and change things. If when I get home from this trip and I'm like, I didn't even use this and like didn't even think about using it even once, then I can cross it off there, and that way I know I don't need it next time. Or if I get home and I'm like, you know what would have been really nice if I had brought like this item, I can write it on the list, Plus, that way, if one trip you're going for a week and another one you're going for 2, you can like change the quantity of items a lot easier. And you can just always reference back to this or change it up depending on where you are going. Another tip I recommend is bringing your packing list with you, whether that's like in physical form on a paper, or if you're going to bring your computer, like your laptop, then keep it on there, or if you can access it from your phone, then do it on there. That way when you're packing to leave, you can make sure you absolutely did not forget anything. Alright guys, so that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys found it helpful and you liked it. If you did, make sure you like that video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I will be posting every single Friday. They are going to be a lot more Disney oriented than anything else, at least until I get back from my Disney trip. After that, I'll probably spam to other stuff as well. I really hope you can hear me over the thunder, but this is like the 4th time I've done the outro, and it seems like every time I start it, it thunders out. So I'm going to try to quickly end this video before my power goes out. So I will see you guys next Friday for another video, and yeah, bye bye.